Hi y'all, I'm Obscure Girl. I like movies. I like weird movies. I like weird, trippy, obscure movies that I feel like no one has seen or is talking about. Whether that be because they were just old, or because the marketing was bad, or because you're like, I think that was a fever dream I had when I was 5. I'm here to tell you it wasn't. Let's talk about it. And I know spooky season is officially over because, it's past Halloween. But listen, I definitely need a mourning period. So, we're going to talk about Haunted Honeymoon from 1986.
Haunted Honeymoon.
Starring Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner. Yes, that adorable couple that they were married. And the chemistry between the two of them is electric in this movie. They just play so well together, and it's so cute and so sweet. Also starring Jonathan Pryce and Dom DeLuise. This was just a really fun movie. Non spoiler premise. So, Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner play these radio stars back when radio was the main source of media. And they're actually getting married in real life. However, ever since Larry proposed, Gene Wilder's character, he's been getting weird. He's been having these scared moments and he's been having these freakouts. And so his family comes in and they're like, listen, we know what's going on and we know how to fix it. He's scared, and we are going to scare him to death to try and fix him. So they end up going back to Larry's family castle where he grew up, and unbeknownst to even the family, there's also a murder plot going on from someone in the family. And that is the non spoiler premise of the whole thing, believe it or not. Uh, it's just such a cute movie. This is something I used to watch with my mom, and I absolutely love it. I actually still listen to radio dramas when I'm like driving late at night with my husband. Sometimes we'll be like on our way back from something, be like, "Oh my god, is the radio drama channel on? Let's do it." Again, just seeing Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner together, it was absolutely beautiful. Gilda actually passed away just 3 years after this movie was made of ovarian cancer, and I think that's something, at least you see in interviews, that I don't think Gene ever really fully got over. Which, God, they were only married like 9 years, but he talked about her as literally the love of his life, and it was so evident in this movie. So, without any further ado, let's talk about Haunted Honeymoon. Just warning, full spoilers from this point on. You've been warned. So the movie already starts out on a bit of a wacky note. You see this gorgeous Gothic castle, and in one of the windows, a man wearing a dress has been stabbed. And outside is a very murderous but slightly confused looking werewolf. Now, I just want to go in right away and flat out say, like, yes, I am part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Obviously, so many of my friends are. I do not think that this movie is being transphobic. And I'll get to why a little bit later, but I'm just asking that you bear with me for a little bit. It's kind of like a joke within a joke, I think. There are definitely parts of this where they're kind of joking about people who would be transphobic, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But we'll get there. Please bear with me. Moving on. And then we quickly cut to a radio studio where Larry Abbott, played by Gene Wilder, and Vicky Pearl, played by Gilda Radner, are performing one of their radio shows. And it's really cool already just seeing all the sound effects and how those get made. They really go into like how the storm sounds and the doors and just every little thing. That's not something you see much today. So that was really cool. And during a commercial break, they have all of these reporters come in and ask Larry and Vicky about their wedding plans and all their upcoming what's going on. And they say that they're right after the show going to be going to Larry's family home where they're going to meet the family and then have the wedding there. So, getting back to the show, Larry's starting to act a little weird, particularly when the storm sounds start getting made. And his big thing is my tie straight? Swear to God, my tie's straight. And that's just kind of something he keeps going back to. Whereas, like, and a little bit later, he starts having a laughing fit in the middle of, performing. And not the producer, but the promoter, like the sponsor of the show, she's like, that's it, he's out of here. I can't deal with this. Like, what's going on? And Larry's uncle, Dr. Paul Abbott, shows up, all very big, burly, and mysterious. And he's like, "No, I'm a psychiatrist. I know exactly what's wrong. He's scared." And they're like, "Why is he scared all of a sudden?" He's like, "Because he's about to be getting married. Trust me, I know exactly what's going on and I know exactly what the cure is. We're going to scare him to death." Basically, trying to scare him out of being scared. So they're like, "Just give him a chance, give us a chance to do our thing. We'll fix him, we'll send him back, he'll be great." So they finish the show and end up going back to Larry's family home, which is this gorgeous, gigantic, again, the Gothic castle. That is where Larry is from. Now, inside that castle, we have Great Aunt Kate, who we don't see from the front yet, we just see the back profile. And the back profile looks a lot like the person that got stabbed. And talking to Uncle Francis Sr., played by Peter Vaughn, Maester Aemon from Game of Thrones. He is Uncle Francis. What's crazy is he looks old in this, but he still looks a lot younger than he was in Game of Thrones. This guy has just always had this like old man look. But moving on, and talking about how Aunt Kate is planning to change her will. She thinks someone is trying to kill her, and the only person she trusts is Larry. So Larry gets everything. Now, if Larry, something should happen to him before Aunt Kate passes away, then the rest of the family gets an even share, just like it was before. Definitely putting a mark on Larry's back right now. And then we get to everyone just kind of entering the castle and everything, the whole family showing up. There's a couple funny scenes with that. There's one in particular with Jim Carter as the magician Montego, and he just has these weird, crazy glowing eyes. And between the butler, Pfister, and Rachel the maid, they are just having running through the ringer, basically, with some of these crazy, crazy entrances. Then finally, everyone shows up. And I just want to throw out there also this castle has a hallway that I just desperately want to run down in a long flowing nightgown. Oh my god, it's just this lined with windows that are open and all the curtains are like blowing into the hallway. And you just want to don a Victorian nightgown and run through it holding a candlestick like you're haunting the place. Oh my god. Now we're going to get to our first real scare for Larry, where he is putting his stuff away in his drawers, and this giant black asp just jumps out of the top drawer at him. And you hear him screaming. Vicky's going to see what's up, and then Uncle Francis goes and is all just like, "Oh, you must be Vicky. Hi, nice to meet you," and is like distracting her. And she's like, "Yeah, like Larry's screaming." He's like, "Yeah, he does that. We'll go check on him together. It's fine," because he's totally in on it. And then I go in and don't see Larry at first because he's up on the taxidermy moose head on the wall. And he's like, "Nobody move. It's super poisonous. Like, it'll jump at you at any second. You gotta get out of here. Call the police." And Uncle Francis goes and she's like, "Oh, did you mean this?" And he brings out this like giant rope with a tassel thing. He's like, "No, I know my snakes. That wasn't it." But, falls off the moose head anyway. So now he's down there. He's like, "Oh, like, have you met Vicky?" So then they're all about to, meet up, go to dinner and everything. And while alone in the hallway, Larry runs into Sylvia, who happens to be his ex girlfriend, and is so happy to see him, she's like kissing him all over, even though she's there with his cousin Charlie, played by Jonathan Pryce, who I'm just going to go out in there and say, young Jonathan Pryce might be on my Hear Me Out cake. Uh, yeah, I was pretty surprised myself. Also, wow, that's the second person from Game of Thrones in this because he was the High Sparrow. Anyway, um, but yeah, so she kisses him all over. He's got lipstick all over his face, and then Vicky comes out and she bolts. Larry tries to blow it off and say like, "Oh, it was Rachel the maid. Like, she saw me and couldn't keep her hands off of me." But then Rachel the maid actually shows up, and I guess she saw everything because she is so disapproving. She's just like this tiny little thing who just constantly has this like just bit of lemon look on her face where she's just mad and disappointed at everyone. And she just comes up and she's like, "As ye reap, so shall ye sow," and just is constantly saying like Bible kind of stuff like that. And Vicky's like, "I don't think that lipstick shade kind of matches there, but okay." So then they all head downstairs, and Vicky actually meets Sylvia, and she's like, "Oh, nice lipstick. She's like, oh, it's purple passion. She's like, ah, quit passing it around. Oh my god, when Gilder Radner faces off against Vicky, played by Eve Ferret, who is actually in another movie that I'm going to be covering later this month, I believe. Um, but anytime those two face off, it's so funny because Gilda is just like, yeah, you're gonna step off my man or I will hurt you, and you believe it. But also by this point, we have come to the conclusion that several of the family members are broke and need money, and therefore they all have motive to want Aunt Kate and Larry out of the picture so they can get a hold of that big ol' inheritance. And this is a good chunk of the family so far. Definitely Montego. He has said that he's been gambling. Charlie, Jonathan Price's character, he's just like, I'm too poor to marry you to Sylvia. And just yeah, even Uncle Francis is all just like, yeah, like let's leave out the fact that I'm part of the family and you say you can't trust me. So it's like, all right, we've laid a thick motive. We have all these people in a nice cozy castle in the middle of nowhere. Let's murder mystery. And at this point, Dom DeLuise chooses to make a hell of an entrance, walking in as Great Aunt Kate at the top of this giant staircase and just declares to the whole room, this house is cursed. And it's just so amazing and just goes on this mini rant of, oh, I remember the memories of filthy men and their painted women, laughter and sin, such memories, and then slides down the stair banister. Oh my god, it's so great. Like, and also Dom DeLuise in drag in this, I'm transported. I totally forget it's a dude the whole time. Just it's kind of like a Tu Wong Fu situation. Like you genuinely forget that that's a man. Absolutely, it's just so good. But Aunt Kate is clearly the eccentric here, and everyone will say it. She's also super convinced that someone in the family's a werewolf.
I know that one of you is a werewolf.
She's like, my brother, who you were all descended from, was bitten by a wolf, and one of you, if not all of you, have that gene, so any of you could be the werewolf. But I saw a werewolf in the garden, and I know it's one of you, and I know you're trying to kill me, and may God strike you dead. Now, anyone want any coffee, music in the parlor? Let's go.
Preying upon the fears of an old woman. Whoever you are, may God strike you dead. Now let's have coffee and dessert in the music room.
I love it. Meanwhile, the werewolf from before is actually somewhere in this house. Like they're going through secret passageways, they're chilling in the basement, they're hanging out outside. This whole movie, you see this werewolf, or at least someone dressed like a werewolf, is spying on all of them at pretty much all times. So keep that in mind. That is constantly going on in the background. And we get to the parlor, and there's this wonderful, out of
One,
nowhere
two,
musical
and
number
then you twist
between
around and
Aunt
you
Kate
twist
and
around with
Vicky,
all your
and
might.
it's so great. They just start dancing together and like are doing theatrics, and it's so great. And it's totally out of nowhere, and they don't have another single musical number the rest of the movie. It's just like, I thank you, that's in there. Cool. But this is where we get to the part where I'm gonna explain a little something here. So Aunt Kate brings up, where is Francis Jr.? So Uncle Francis Sr. is the one who was revising the will and everything. Where's Francis Jr.? And he's like, I don't know. He was supposed to be here this afternoon. And she's like, one of my dresses is missing. Is he doing it again? And Uncle Francis tries to play it off as like, oh, he's got this great impression of Aunt Kate. He can even do the voice. It's fantastic. And Aunt Kate's kind of like being like, mm-hmm. So I want to throw out, this is the part that can definitely seem on the transphobic side. Until you realize the person who's giving the transphobic behavior is a man in a dress. So I really think it's more of just like a joke on the people who would make the joke, if that makes any sense. I think it's like an of its time kind of reference where it's like, hey, we're going to say or do the shocking thing to make fun of the people that would make fun of the shocking thing. I don't know. It's like a Blazing Saddles kind of situation by the people that made Blazing Saddles. They had a style. Take with it what you will. I take from it, it's a joke on the joke. Moving on. But what's important also is Francis Jr. is missing and is someone that's known to dress like Aunt Kate. So it's very possible that that's the person that got killed at the beginning of the movie. And in fact, more than possible, that's the person that got killed at the beginning of the movie. Someone thought it was Aunt Kate, tried to kill Aunt Kate, and finds out it was just cousin Francis dressed up like Aunt Kate. And speaking of the werewolf murderer, we now cut to the wine cellar where the werewolf is just kind of chilling, and someone has gone up to them, and it's very clear immediately that it's a member of the family, you just don't know who, and is whispering, basically saying that this was a hired assassin that dressed up like a werewolf because of the whole Aunt Kate being obsessed thing, and it'd be something that, even if he was seen, anyone would just be like, oh, it's just Aunt Kate again. But he hired this dude to kill Aunt Kate for the inheritance money. And the guy was like, hey, without me, you wouldn't even know that the will got changed. And he's like, yeah, and now I want you to kill Larry. And the guy's just like, kill him yourself. And then whoever family member it is stabs this wolfman assassin. And now this guy's dead, and the werewolf costume is now in the hands of whatever family member killed him. Now we go back to the parlor, and everyone's having this very dramatic, are you ready for bed kind of scene where everyone's like, are you ready? Yeah, yeah, I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready.
You're ready to call it a night, aren't you, Monty?
Yes, I'm ready.
Francis?
I'm ready.
Susan?
I'm ready.
So it's basically, are you ready to start scaring the crap out of Larry? But it's just super over dramatic and amazing, and with the whole like gothic castle aesthetic, it's fantastic. So we go upstairs, and Larry and Vicky are saying goodnight, and they're being all cute and adorable. And as soon as Vicky closes her door because they're sleeping in separate rooms, Sylvia pops out and immediately attacks Larry. And the second she's like on him, Vicky opens the door and she's like, "Wow, I have been tossing and turning for hours, just can't sleep at all." Blah blah blah. And she's like, "How about you, Sylvia? Can't sleep?" And so he's like, "Oh, I was just saying it's so nice to see Larry. Nice to see you. Okay, night night." And they all like end up going back into their rooms. And then you see Sylvia trying to come out of her room and sneak out again and head over to Larry's. But Vicky's right there waiting for her, like, you need something? Yeah, quit while you're still in good health. And like just walks off like a badass. Like, all right, your territory has been claimed. We got it. You're good. But then you see Vicky is alone in her room and gets recruited by Uncle Paul, the psychiatrist, to join in with the whole scheme to scare Larry. And this is when the first unofficial scare happens for Larry, because in his bed is a dead cousin Francis Jr. in one of Aunt Kate's dresses. But he thinks it's Vicky who snuck into his room to, get a little bit freaky before the wedding, and doesn't even question the fact that she's, completely silent and not moving. He's just like, oh my God, this is it. Oh, I'm so thankful for what you're giving me, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, honey, you're cold as ice. And then notices like he's been doing whatever to his dead cousin, and just freaking out, starts screaming. Meanwhile, one of the headboard panels opens up, and there's like, the killer's trying to kill Larry. He starts screaming, runs out of the room. So he gets Pfister in the hallway and takes him back, and of course the body's gone by then. The killer has removed the body, and Pfister's all like, "All right, just go to bed. We have stuff to do." So then Larry tries to go to bed, and now back to the actual things that are, scheming for him. So this zombie starts walking down the wall, facing Larry, and he's like, "It's just my imagination. This is not real. I just have to reach out and touch this thing, and I will know it's not real." And he's trying so hard to stay calm, but then he like reaches for it and realizes it's real, and he's even putting his finger like in its nose and his ears, and he's just like freaking out the whole time. It's like, okay, we're done. So tries to get out, and now they're doing all these little things to him, like they've bricked off the room, and the piano starts playing "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf" all by itself, and then you hear Vicky calling for him, and so he's like, the bricks are gone. He's able to run out into this super runnable hallway. And you see Vicky floating in a wedding dress, calling out for Larry to come find her. So he tries following Vicky out to the family cemetery, where all of a sudden it's storming and there's lightning and thunder, and this hand reaches out for him to strangle him from the grave, basically. And at this point, he's just like totally, completely scared and runs off. He ends up running into the cellar. At this point, cops are seeing that there's lightning happening only over the castle, and they're like, that's the old Abbott place. We should go check it out. And so they're all just like, seriously, cops? Really? We do not need this right now. But then Larry ends up in the cellar over Cousin Francis's body once again and is freaking out. And he's screaming. And you see Fister, the butler, who is now super, super drunk. And he's all just like, you killed your own cousin, I'll kill you. And is like, trying to strangle him. And then Larry has to knock him out. And then so he's standing over like the legs of Fister. And at this point, the cops go down to the cellar because they heard all this screaming and I'll kill you and blah blah blah. And they think they do the fake leg gag. They do the old fake leg gag where basically Larry's standing over Fister's legs and they're not his. And the cops are just like, oh, keep sitting down over there, don't stand up and blah. He's like, oh yeah, sitting. I'm totally sitting. He's like, yeah, no, I'm just practicing my lines. I'm Larry Abbott, the radio star. And they're like, oh, cool, like the radio star, that's awesome. And they totally fall for it, even as the legs start kind of moving and he has to keep re-knocking out Fister. It's just like, it's a great gag, and this is probably the funniest version of it I've seen, probably because it was the first one of it I'd seen. So, I don't know, check it out. But pretty much as soon as the cops leave, the werewolf, now the family member dressed as a werewolf, is immediately going after Larry and trying to kill Larry. They have like a little tussle. Larry manages to get away. The werewolf manages to get out through the secret passage one more time, and Fister has seen the whole thing. And so he goes up to where Rachel is, and she's just like, "Oh my God, you're so drunk. I hate you." And he's just like, "No, like, oh my God, it wasn't Master Larry. Like, someone's trying to frame him and kill him. I need to hide Cousin Francis's body." And so he goes to try and help Larry by hiding the body in the graveyard. And the cops haven't fully left yet. They're still checking out the outside of the premises after having checked the inside and just saw Larry and left. Meanwhile, Larry is terrified and he's running all over this castle trying to find Vicky. He's like, where is she? Like, there's murderers around here, there's dead people, where is my fiance? And Vicky is stuck up in this rigging being all kinds of uncomfortable, and finally talks Charlie into being like, I need to go to the bathroom, you need to get me out of here. But as Larry is looking everywhere for Vicky, he ends up in Montego's room, the Jim Carter character, who's like his cousin's husband, and finds the zombie mask, and he finds the snake, and he's starting to get kind of suspicious, like, wait, what is this? So then he goes to check out the cemetery one more time, like, check out that hand. And sure enough, he finds it's an electronic hand, and there's even a lightning machine controlling the lightning. So he's very, very like, what the heck with this? But of course, the cops see the lightning machine going off, and then they decide to keep investigating. Where Larry stumbles into where Fister's trying to hide the body of Cousin Francis, as well as the original werewolf assassin guy. He's like, yeah, this one was hiding under your cousin. And Larry's like, what's going on? So then the cops come back, and then they do the whole gag where they try and pretend like the dead people are alive. So, Cousin Francis is still in the dress, so he pretends that's Vicky, and he pretends the other guy's just drunk on Fister's shoulder. And the cop just wants an autograph as he's like trying to like, juggle a dead body and pretend like they're dancing. Uh, Again, this is some of the first times I'd seen these gags, and I feel like in that case they were just in their purest form because they were like the first times you'd seen it, you know? But it was hilarious. I don't know. But again, as soon as the cops are gone, the werewolf guy attacks one more time and he knocks out Fister and Larry both with a shovel and then buries Larry alive. So this time, Aunt Kate saw the whole thing through the window. So she's like sounding the alarm. She's like, there's literally a werewolf and they've been attacked and you need to come see this. So this time the family actually does go all check, and they now know that Cousin Francis has passed away, as well as Mystery Guy. And Fister's knocked out, and no one can find Larry, because none of them know that he's been buried alive at this point. Meanwhile, while Larry is paralyzed with fear inside of this coffin, we get to the root of his actual fear. Apparently, the whole thing is because his mother died in a freak lightning accident on the day she was getting remarried. And she's like in the church and lightning comes through the window and only hits his mom. So that's why Storm set him off. And apparently, the last thing he remembers her saying to him was her fussing over his tie. So that's why he was so worried about the tie being straight. That's what the whole thing is. There you go. Thank you, assassin. And so Aunt Kate's like, go find Larry. I'll stay here with Fister. And at this point, Charlie has been like with Vicky, like, come on, let's go call the police. Let's call the police. What we know is the phone lines were just cut by someone. So Charlie takes Vicky inside and is making a very convincing show of calling the police. When again, we know that phone line isn't working. So then Vicky leans underneath the couch to like, she dropped something and sees that the phone line is cut and sees that Charlie is still pretending like he's talking to the police and knows immediately that's the murderer. And sure enough, Charlie also bends over and he sees that she saw the line was cut and he's just like, Larry's not the only actor in the family. So this dude is clearly very jealous of his cousin. He's sick of always being like the second chosen one, like seen as the screw up, and he needs money. So he's been doing this from the start, just trying to get rid of his famous cousin and inherit all of the money. And so now Charlie is chasing Vicky because she knows all through the castle. And luckily enough, the dog had led Aunt Kate to where Larry was buried, and she dug him out just in time for him to also run inside and face off with Charlie. They have this big old fight. Charlie's kind of winning, and he has a scene where he's like, I'm the good boy, not cousin Larry. I'm just as smart as cousin Larry. I'm better looking than cousin Larry. And I'm just like, no, that was true. Yeah, go on. And he's like, I'm about to be a hell of a lot richer. And so he takes this vase that we've been told is like super, super rare and valuable. And Aunt Kate shotgun blasts Charlie out the window with the vase. And just goes, that vase cost me $5,000. There's only 3 like it in the world. Oh well. And then slides down the banister like it's all chill one more time, having saved the day. And she's like, let's just get on with this wedding. So, cut to the wedding. And, you know, they say I do. And once again, Aunt Kate interrupts, doesn't let them kiss, and starts going on this little monologue about how the dark cloud is past. Except she doesn't say past, she says pissed. And all of a sudden, we are back in the radio studio where Dom DeLuise just messed up his lines as Aunt Kate. The rest of the actors are trying not to laugh on air. The whole thing was a radio show. Go figure. They have this great send off where they're like, oh my god, they just got married on the radio. Now they're getting married in real life. Oh my god. And they give them this big old send off. And we have some final closing ominous send off from our creepy voice narrator that turns to be the werewolf himself. And that was Haunted Honeymoon. It's so cute. It's so funny. And it's just a fun, spooky season or not kind of show to watch. Like, you can watch it with the family, you can watch it just, you know, late at night on a dark and stormy evening, and it's just wonderful. I hope you check it out. Right now, it's really hard to find a streaming copy unless you pay for it, but I would say it is worth it. I happen to have it on DVD because I love this movie. Um, but yeah, I really hope you check it out. It's definitely a favorite of mine. Mel Brooks was not involved with this one. This was directed by Gene Wilder. And they do have very similar styles, but they were friends and collaborators, so it makes sense. Anyway, I hope that you share out this video to people that you think might like this movie. I hope that you like this video. And definitely like comment if you've seen it, if you want to see it, if you end up seeing it, what do you think? I want to get the conversation going so bad. And pretty please subscribe to my channel. It's such a huge help. It really, really is. And also, please check me out on Patreon. The link is in the description below. And you can help me with things like a microphone and curtains and stuff like that. It would be such a big help. So, I hope you have a wonderful day. I've been Obscure Girl. And the rest is confetti.